Hello, I'm Bonnie McClun. I am the 25-year caregiver for my husband John, who has IBM. His diagnosis was in 1993, and back in 1993 life was different with myositis. We were avid bicyclists, and the doctor said to us, "You don't want to exercise." And we kind of looked at each other, and as we recovered from the shock of saying, "You have myositis, your life just changed dramatically," we looked at each other and said, "I don't think so." So we began our journey of how was myositis going to make our life different, but not make our life different at the same time. We still wanted to be avid bicyclists, so we figured out a way to do it. I was mad as hell at the disease. I wanted my husband to fight it, fight it, fight it. And as the doctor said, "Don't exercise," John said, "I'm going to anyway." So we did. We continued to pedal. And we continued to do the things that we love. And we have continued all 25 years to do the things that we love, because that's how you get through a day. You don't get through your day thinking about the things that you can't do and the things that are difficult to do. You get through your day thinking of, how will today be fun? And what are we going to do today that's fun? What am I going to do today that's fun? And what is he going to do today that's fun? Because if your days aren't, then myositis consumes you, and it can't. It really can't, and it shouldn't, and it mustn't. John's an amateur radio operator. He goes out and he plays with his radios most every day. I have to help him get dressed in the morning. I have to help him with his meals. There's things that I have to help him do, but then he goes off and he does his things that he likes to do. I spend my day at the sewing machine, whipping out quilts like I was going to a fire. That's where I find my peace and where I find me. Because if I'm not me, I can't be the best when he needs me. Do we still pedal our bike? Not so much anymore. The bicycle, we rode across the United States on our tandem bicycle 5 years into his diagnosis, because we were determined life wasn't going to change. We started in Seattle, Washington, and by the time we got to Helena, Montana, he was having his first case of sun poisoning because of the sun sensitivity that myositis had given him and the drugs that he was taking. The doctor said, "Take 2 weeks off." We said, "Can't do that. We only have 7 weeks to do this project in." So I tried to figure out how I was going to cover up his arms because we couldn't get out of the sun. So I went to a Goodwill and I found some men's shirts, and I cut off their long sleeves and I sewed them onto our bike jerseys, and we kept right on pedaling. 3,115 miles later, with myositis, we finished our cross-country ride. We finished our last big bicycle ride in 2000. After that, it became a motorcycle, and we rode that motorcycle, a Honda Goldwing, for another 5 years until it grew a third wheel and became a trike. And when it became a trike, I helped ride it. I got my license and I drove. As John's needs have changed, as his arms got weaker, what we did for fun changed. And of course things along the way with his diagnosis and such have changed also, but we still had fun. And we decided that I guess we weren't going to be able to live on that sailboat we wanted to do when we retired. So we said, you know, we'll find a way to do something else fun. So we sold all the stuff in the house, lived in a fifth-wheel RV. And the deal was, we'd go wherever we wanted to go, as long as it was above 70 degrees in temperature. And we would do that as long as it was fun, and we would do it as long as he could drive the rig. John's myositis has affected his arms more than his legs, which is how we managed to keep pedaling. But as his arms got weaker, it got harder to do things. I drove that motorcycle behind our rig for 3 years, until one day he says, "I can't run the throttle, and I don't feel comfortable pulling the brake levers anymore." I said, "Well, it's not my goal to drive this bike, it was yours, but I did it because it was important to us to keep going and have that fun." So when he said no more bike, I went, "Yippee, I get air conditioning in a car again." And I drove the car behind the rig for another year, and then he said, "I can't drive the rig anymore." He says, "I don't feel comfortable driving something this large with how weak my arms are getting." So we said, okay. Next phase, so we have a house in Florida, and we have a house up north where we see the grandchildren. And I do all the driving, because John's arms don't let him do it anymore. But remember those strong legs we had, and we still have to have fun? Now we have a Hobie tandem kayak that we pedal. And he can sit back and he can push his legs out to pedal that kayak. Now granted, I have to put the 100-pound boat in the water, so caregivers, take care of yourself, because you never know what kind of challenges your partner is going to give you to do for them. He wants to pedal that kayak, we pedal the kayak. He wants to drive his remote control sailboat, I put the 16-pound boat in the water and he sails it. So it's just fun, and we find ways to keep doing things together. Are there more challenges with myositis? Yes, his arms are getting a lot weaker. We have a little trouble dancing now, but we're still trying to figure that out. I just have to dress appropriately. He can't put his arms up where they belong anymore. No arm up at my shoulder on my back. His hands are low. So I always dress in a pair of pants that has back pockets, so he can slide his hands in my back pockets and we can still dance. So if you have the will, there is a way. If you don't have the will to figure it out, or you aren't that ingenious, say something to a friend, because you never know what crazy idea is going to turn out to be that solution to the problem that lets you keep having fun in spite of myositis.